Well, while Nigeria continues to answer questions around how it's going to deal with hunger and poverty, we also know that we have a huge number of children who are out of school. At the latest count, we understand about 10.5 million children are out of school. And out of this particular number, 7.6 million of them are girls. Well, there's somebody who has been raising his voice as a standard. His daughter nearly paid the supreme price for this, but thankfully she survived and has now also raised her voice. But this was all thanks to the support that she got from her father and her family. This morning we're joined by Yousafzai, who is the co-founder and board member of the Malala Fund. He is the father of Malala Yousafzai, who nearly lost her life owing to a gunshot to the head sometime in 2009. Well, thankfully, she survived that, and she has now raised her voice. She's now a known advocate around the world for the education of girl children. She's paid several visits to Nigeria, but also her father, who understands the role that men can play in this battle and in this advocacy, was recently in Nigeria. And today on Sunrise Daily, he joins us to share his insights into some of the things that he has learned and how he believes that men, especially Nigerian men, can help bring down this huge number of 7.6 million girls who are currently out of school. Mr. Yousafzai, it's good to have you on Sunrise Daily. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Mope. Thank you so much for having me on Sunrise Daily. Thank you so much.
Well, I do not know whether to begin with an apology. I had hoped to meet you sometime last week when you were in the country, but sadly that did not happen. But I know that you have a lot to share with us in terms of your reflections on your visits to Nigeria. What would you say, stood out for you when you came to Nigeria? Is it your first visit ever?
Thank you so much, Mope. It was my fourth because we have been to Nigeria 3 times before this. And I must say that when it comes to Malala Fund's work, in my own work, Nigeria is one of the most important countries where we have been working for the last 10 years. We came to Nigeria in 2014 to meet the Chibok girls. Then we came in 2017 and we went to Maiduguri, Borno State. And also Malala marked the 10th anniversary of her UN speech with Amina Muhammad in 2023. So this was my 4th time, and this time I was there especially for girls' education and to involve men and boys in this work for girls' education. And as I heard from you and your co-host about the national security, that should be human-centric. So I must say that when we talk about human-centric, it should be education-centric. And as you mentioned, 6.7 million girls out of school. This is a huge number of girls in the nation. But in my meetings with the traditional leaders, faith leaders, civil society organizations, media, and so many other people, really, the community is robust. So if on the one hand, there is a huge population of girls that is out of school, I see so many committed people in men leaders in civil society who really can turn this big problem into a great opportunity.
It was really a pleasure to have met your daughter in 2023 and to have interviewed with her on her last visit to Nigeria. And I know that, she spoke very highly of the support that she got from you. I'm just a little curious, what have you found have been the obstacle between, Nigerian men really advocating and really trying to turn the tide against, girls not getting an education in the parts of the country that you visited?
Basically, like when it comes to girls' rights and girls' education, I always mention this, that when a baby girl first meets manhood, that is her father. And if he believes in her freedom, then no power on earth can enslave her spirit. And if he believes in her potential and in her ability, she will never doubt her worth. So that is like being a father who supported his daughter. That is one thing that I can share, and I can find common in Pakistan and in Nigeria, where in both countries, there are millions of girls who are not in school, and especially there are 5 million girls in Nigeria, like secondary school girls who are not in school. And you will also know, and you may know better than me, that only 67% of girls, they complete their junior secondary school, and 51% girls in Nigeria, they complete their senior secondary school. But a big factor of that hindrance is early child marriages. Like nationally, one-third of the Nigerian girls are married by 18, when they are 18, before 18. And in the Northeast and in the Northwest, more than half of the girls are married by 18. So this is a big loss, because when girls are married at that age, that is the end of their education. And we lose great nurses, doctors, teachers who can contribute to their communities. So, and also it is World Bank data that if all girls in Nigeria get secondary education, the nation can earn more than $100 billion. And then look at its impact on health, impact on rights, impact on climate. So everything changes. When a girl gets education, she not only changes her own world, but she changes the world for everyone. So my focus especially was on men involvement, that we need, that because gender equality needs men, and men needs gender equality. So that's why I see these things common in Nigeria and Pakistan, but I'm so hopeful, because when I went to Sokoto and I met His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto. So during his conversation, and he is a great champion of girls' education, he is emphasizing on the payments to teachers, infrastructure for education, and right from there, like I also met. I hosted a round table where I met other faith leaders, like I should mention Reverend John Joseph, who is leading the Christian Association Nigeria. I met Amina Haruna, who is from Ministry of Education. And right to the bottom, I met a girl. Her name was Halima Yusuf. And like when she told her story, it was so inspiring, that she was in a family of boys. But her father was the man who stood behind her, and he protected her, supported her from all kind of bullies, pressures. And now that girl is working for Paged Initiative. That is a great organization which is working for girls' education and women's rights. So, like the potential we see, the resilience I see in this country is huge, and we can change this problem, this challenge, into a big opportunity for everyone.
But cultural practices are sometimes very difficult to change. You have identified early child marriage as one of the things that militating against, girls getting a full education. And I know that, part of the advocacy that the Malala Fund has been pushing is that, girls get at least 12 years compulsory and free education. What do you think? How do you think that cultural practices can be adjusted? Because some people say this is what we've done all our lives, this is what we know, and changing it is going to be very difficult. They do not still see the value in educating their girls. How do you think that these practices, if not totally eradicated, maybe can work hand in hand in education, or at least can be stemmed somewhat?
Yeah, this is so important because when it comes to girls' education, cultural norms, social norms are there. And when I share my own story, my 5 sisters did not go to school because of the social norms, but I changed myself because of the education, and I was able to send my daughter to school. So that made a huge change in our lives. So that's why that is the important thing, that we need to involve men and boys, because I just give one example always, that if there is a family of 5 sisters and 1 brother, and that 1 brother goes and he goes to other countries to earn money for the whole family, and the 5 sisters, they are, because of social norms, they are stopped from going out of their home when they are teen, they don't get education, they can't work, then these 5 sisters depend on 1 brother. So the brother, because of social norm, not only ruins his life, he also destroys the lives of his 5 sisters. So that is like very simple, but we need to have this conversation with empathy and understanding, because these norms and taboos, they sit and they are entrenched in our behavior for generations. As I mentioned, that when I stood against this, the patriarchy, the first person I came across was myself. So with negotiation, with conversation, when we involve men and boys, I mean, everything changed. And it doesn't only change for girls only, it changed for men and boys as well. Like when I think of my life, that I have never been here where I am, not even now, but before I take on my daughter, if I had not encouraged my wife to be part of my life and my daughter to be educated. So when girls get education, it changes things for everyone. We need to understand this simple fact. And as Malala says, that the cultures are always like formed and developed by human beings, and human beings should have a right to change them. So it's so simple. It's time that we need to change all those social harmful norms that hinder girls from their basic human rights and girls from growing, thriving. We should come together and we should change them, not only for them, but for everyone, for our girls, for our communities, and for our nations. That's how we will move forward. And I always give an example that a man and a woman, we are like 2 wheels of a cart. And if one wheel is jammed, then the other wheel can't move swiftly. That's it. It's so simple. But we just need to reflect and involve in this conversation. And also, every man, like whether that man is a father or brother, or that man is a leading an organization or a government department, every man in their role can have a role to support women and girls. So I call in every man. And also I should mention that we are not like outsiders. We are the stakeholders. It affects us. So we need to come out of it, and we need to be considerate, kind, compassionate men and human beings.
Well, Mr. Yousafzai, you definitely have done this for quite a bit, and perhaps one of the challenges, maybe some men might have in certain cultures, as Malfoy highlighted, because it's a cultural thing in most cases. I don't know if you can share a specific story or moment from your advocacy efforts that underscores the transformative role that fathers play in advancing gender equality in education. Gender equality in education.
You mean men's role?
Yes. If you have a specific story or a moment from your advocacy efforts that underscores the transformative role that fathers play in that gender equality in education space.
Yeah, there are many stories, like my own story, and I mentioned the story of Halima before, and also the work we do in Nigeria. Like, I will give you that we don't have much time, but I give you just 2-3 examples. And one of the story is about the Youth of Africa. And this is an organization that, together with Central for Girls Education in Kaduna State, they were able to pass the Child Rights Act, and it had a ripple effect. And then that Child Rights Act was passed in every state of Nigeria. Also, because of their advocacy, the hidden fees in schools was eliminated, and it benefited 800,000 children in Kaduna State. There is another organization, and its name is Center for Education Transparency, and they supported the government in developing a comprehensive education policy, which was gender sensitive. And lastly, I should mention that in Kano State, the Bridge Connect Africa, there is another organization which is Malala for Education Champion, and they developed and implemented gender responsive budget. And also they were able to, with their support and advocacy, government reopened 15 boarding schools for girls. So these are some stories of our work that I can share with you. But when it comes particularly to fathers, I think there are so many amazing fathers who have supported their daughters. And if you ask every second girl, successful girl, a successful woman in media, in legal fraternity, in politics, wherever, in health, every second girl, or every girl almost, she will say, yes, I had a supportive father in my life. So,
absolutely.
That is so important.
Yes, absolutely. But let's go to the future, Mr. Yousafzai, because the boys today are the fathers tomorrow. So what role do you see young men and boys play in the fight for gender equality in education? How can they be empowered to contribute meaningfully to gender equality in education?
Thank you so much. This is so important. And I'm a father of 2 sons. And I'm so proud that I have raised not only a daughter, but I have raised 2 sons who are supportive of gender equality and women's rights. So this is so important. As you mentioned, that today's sons are tomorrow's fathers. And what we need to do, basically, we need to do very important things through curriculum and through engaging boys at very early age, that they have this value, and we inculcate this value of gender equality, respect. Like I always tell that one is macho masculinity, and one is a masculinity that is healthy, that is compassionate, that believes in kindness and respect for everyone. So if we, at the early age in boys, if we inculcate these values in our boys, I think there will be different men, there will be different father. When I'm asked what changed me in my life, I always tell one thing: education, education, and education. Education changed me into the kind of person that I became. It gave me the values, the value of empathy, respect, equality, and respecting the otherness of other people. So that is so important. So this is how we can involve boys, and also to tell the boys that it's not only like supporting girls is helpful for girls, it's also important for boys' own lives to grow and thrive and to succeed.
Okay, so if just one last question from me, if you could implement or propose one transformative policy, right, in Nigeria today to advance girls' education, what would it be? What would that policy be, and why?
I think if we push, because Malala Fund is working on securing the rights for girls' education and also investment in girls' education. If I say in short, I think I should be it should be like number one. Nigeria is a great nation. So the first and most important thing is that policies that if they are at federal level or state level, we should push for the policies and introduce policies that ensure every girl's right to free, safe, and quality education. And the implementation of the policy is so important. That is one. And number two, as you said in the beginning of this conversation, that like national security should be human-centric. And I add to it that when we say human-centric, education is the foundation of that. So Nigerian government, whether that is federal government or state governments, they should invest on education and should be gender responsive, because in many states, like the demand or the requirement of girls' education is ignored, because just a whiteboard, a blackboard, and a classroom and a teacher, that doesn't work. For quality education, girls need health hygiene, they need clean water, and so many other requirements. So, to be short, number one, policies, and number two, investment. Investment that we are able, the Nigerian government is able to send all those 6.7 million girls to school, and they get free, safe, and quality education.
Mr. Yousafzai, I'm just still a little curious. You know, security, yes, we've spoken about human security, but some people, and you have lived firsthand this particular experience, that some people actually go to school, as girls go to school under the very threat of their lives. Your daughter experienced this firsthand, and I know that, I don't know what the experience would have been for you as a father, those who, you know, understood the circumstances prevailing when you raised your voice in advocacy, in silent protest, that you were not going to back down on letting your daughter go to school. So many communities in Nigeria are still facing this particular challenge, and we've seen it happen with the kidnap of the Chibok girls in 2014. We saw it with the girls in Yobe, and one of them is still in captivity as we speak, all because she went to school. So for you, how would you speak to parents who, you know, want their children to go to school but are still very uncertain? They're still not sure about the environment, and they'd rather keep their children at home as a result of some of the traumatic events they've seen happen to other children and other parents who have sent their children to school.
Thank you, Mope, for this question. And honestly, when we talk about safety and security of girls, that is the most important thing that we need to focus on. I have been, my family and myself, my wife, Torpik, and we all have been gone through this trauma. When Taliban bombed more than 400 schools in Swat Valley and they attacked my daughter to silence her forever, what happened in Borno State and the state you mentioned, UB now, it's really alarming and heartbreaking that our girls are not safe while going to school or in school. I think a parent's responsibility is to make sure that they are safe. I mean, if it's very difficult for a parent to decide to send their daughter to school while they feel, oh, she might be kidnapped on the way to school or from school. So parents must be mindful of it, but I believe that it is government responsibility, state responsibility to make sure, I mean, this is the most important basic thing of a state to protect the lives of their people, and especially children. Schools should be a safe, they say schools should be safe havens. They should not be places where children are attacked or they are kidnapped from. So I think that parents should always prioritize their demand and their ask to the government to make sure that every girl should have an access to free, safe, and quality education.
Well, we have to thank you very much for joining us this morning on Sunrise Daily, and also for the work you're doing in advocacy. I mean, you could easily have kept quiet after all of this, but you have decided to raise your voice in advocacy for girl-child education. Thank you so much for the work you're doing, as well as the work that Malala Yousafzai is doing as well. It's been a pleasure speaking with you this morning, Mr. Yousafzai, co-founder.
Thank you, Murphy and Ayo, for having me. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
My pleasure.
We've been speaking with the co-founder and board member of the Malala Fund, Yousafzai, who also is Malala Yousafzai's father. Thank you once more.